Hi everybody, thanks for watching my Midpoint presentation video. I'm going to start off with a little bit of a background and review of my wicked problem and how I plan to help ameliorate it. Right now my working title for this is Improving Primary Care Provider, Physician, Breastfeeding Promotion Skills, Support and Skills in Southeastern Ohio. Although at the end with my questions, I am looking for some guidance on the name. So to review, suboptimal breastfeeding rates are higher in Ohio's Appalachia than the rest of the state, and Ohio happens to be pretty high considering the rest of the United States as well. Over different studies that have been done, they can't really pinpoint exactly why. We just know that Appalachian women tend to breastfeed less often and less exclusively than even rural women in other parts of the country. So one factor of those rates that's been studied is the lack of primary care provider support of breastfeeding knowledge, promotion, and clinical skills. And in this area of Ohio, we also have a primary care provider shortage, as well as a lactation consultant shortage. And you'll see IBCLC for lactation consultant because that is a certified professional. So often our families are traveling long distances to see either a physician or a lactation consultant, and sometimes one visit isn't enough, and sometimes the practitioner they're seeing doesn't have the clinical skills or even the knowledge base to really help them. So as you can imagine, that doesn't go over well, and a lot of moms are not reaching their own breastfeeding goals, which is probably why our suboptimal breastfeeding rates are particularly high in this area. To ameliorate this problem, I'm going to offer a 6-day lactation course hosted by Linda J. Smith, who is an author, and I'll talk a little bit about her later. She also used to help write the IBCLC exam, so she's particularly adept at knowing what kind of questions that they are looking for, which will help increase the number of lactation consultants in our area as well, as this course does provide 45 needed credit hours that somebody has to have to sit for that exam. They need a total of 90, and this will provide half of that. So I'm going to start off with my vision and mission. My vision, I've changed a little bit. It was optimal breastfeeding rates, but I think maybe this is a better fit. I would like some feedback from you all about it, that all mothers will achieve their own breastfeeding goals. So whatever that is, we want them to achieve that. And then my mission is to ensure families receive timely, appropriate, skilled, and culturally appropriate breastfeeding support in the southeastern region of Ohio. My objectives, I have quite a few of them. I won't go through all of these reading them. The big ones this semester that I'm currently working on is to get at least 5 primary care provider physicians to attend this course, and not even in its totality, to just get them to attend even a half day or a day, because I realize that their practice is very busy, and because they are understaffed in this area, they're even more busy than a typical primary care provider. And also that they're not eligible to get the continuing education for their MD or their DO license, which is a big drawback of this particular education that we couldn't fix in time because of how long it takes to get something approved for those continuing education credits. Also, I am hoping to get at least 10 lactation support people. So that could be lay people. It could be people who work in the field, breastfeeding peer helpers, LCs at the hospital is what they usually call them. It's usually an RN that has some type of breastfeeding experience personally and no actual credentials with it, but they still call them lactation consultants since that is not a protected term in Ohio. I have a couple of them that are scheduled to come, but my goal is to get 10 to help pay for my speaker's costs. So I'm paying out of pocket for a lot of my speaker's costs, and I did get a grant, which I'll talk a little bit about later. But she typically makes about $10,000 from this course, and she knows it's going to be significantly lower in this area, and she's willing to do it for the good of the cause. So it's very nice of her to donate basically her time. I also want to improve knowledge, promotion, and skills, of course, and which is going to be measured by pre and post test, and I'll go into that a little bit here on a couple more slides. So strategies, I'm going to provide area primary care provider physicians with a fact sheet on suboptimal breastfeeding and how they can support breastfeeding families. So that was a fact sheet I made last semester that got mailed with lactation course flyer and the pretest, along with a personalized invitation to be invited to the course. offer a free 6-day lactation course taught by author Linda J. Smith at the central location of Athens in southeastern Ohio. And personally, I have invited 75% of area primary care providers. As I'm learning, it's actually probably a higher percentage than that because so many have retired, died, or moved out of the area. So unfortunately, I don't have an updated list that I'm working from, and I've had to find all of these people word of mouth, Google searches, and then just showing up at offices and seeing who's new on the thing and writing them down. Offer the course with tuition, depending on what type of lay or professional lactation support person they are, depends on how much tuition they have to pay, up to $975 and as low as $200, to provide them with necessary 45 lactation specific education hours to sit for the International Board exam for lactation consultants. So I have 2 study designs. One study I hope to complete by the end of this course, and then the second study will actually be completed 2 years from now. So study number 1 has the goal of improving breastfeeding knowledge, promotion, and skill of primary care provider physicians in this area. It is a quasi-experimental design. All eligible participants are primary care provider physicians practicing in southeastern Ohio, so gynecologists, obstetricians, pediatricians, and family practitioners. Family physicians, And criteria were I wasn't able to reach them by mailings or in-person visits. They did not return a pre and or a post test. So they won't be included in the final data unless they did both of those tests. So I can compare their knowledge. My measurable outcome is the improved scores between the pre and post test, and I'm going to use a t-test to measure the averages of those differences. So I'm going to take the average from the pre-test and the average from the post-test of both groups who attended at least one day of the course and who attended none of the course, and compare them at the end to see if there's a significant difference. So my pre and post test, my assessment tool is an abbreviated version of the American Academy of Pediatrics Breastfeeding Residency curriculum. So these 6 questions I chose out of about 25 that are on there that were based on clinical knowledge and skills pertinent for a physician to have to practice evidence-based breastfeeding medicine. And they're all questions that are covered in some extensively in the course, but they're not covered by the fact sheet that I sent them. So there should be no confounding there. Mode of delivery, they were delivered with the invitation and course information through the mail or hand delivered to receptionists in their offices. There are some big limitations of this assessment tool. Probably the biggest one is that you can actually find these test questions and answers online and pretty easily, so that might affect participants' answers if they're not doing it based off their own knowledge. I did not deliver these directly to a physician. Actually, I had a physician's office contact me today that I actually hand delivered this one, but he said he never got it, but he got the pre-test that I mailed to him. So he would like a course flyer as well. So I have to re-mail that to him. So sometimes when you leave it with front office staff, it's obviously not going to get back to the physician. And then there's also the burden to the participant. There's the burden to fill these out, which is only 6 questions, but still, like I said, they're very busy. And there's also the burden to get it back to me. So they can have the option of mailing it, faxing it, or scanning it and emailing it to me. So hopefully I made it a little easier for them because they have more options. My study design model, I had to redo quite a bit. I'm still not sure, and I'm really hoping to get some help with this. So please feel free to give me some constructive criticism. I just want to make sure that it's clear that what I'm actually comparing are those who attended the course, their pre and post test scores, and those who did not attend the course, their pre and post test scores. And then I'm going to see if there's a significant difference or statistical difference between the 2 groups at the end. Study design number 2, which will be completed in about 2 years from now. The goal is to increase the number of IBCLCs in southeastern Ohio by 10% by April 2020. It's also a quasi-experimental design. I will be comparing IBCLC status of the intervention course non-physician participants, so all my lactation staff participants, with those who showed an interest but did not attend for various reasons. So I've had a lot of interest in this course, and some people can't attend because of childcare, can't get the time off from work. Some people just can't afford it even with $200 tuition if they qualify for that. So, and then a couple people they're going to be on maternity leave. So there's various reasons for that. Income has been somewhat controlled by offering that deep discount, but for those who have an RN or greater, my speaker has requested that they pay full tuition. And even though they have a higher income, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be able to swing almost $1,000 for tuition. So that, I'm sure income still has a factor. I will determine IBCLC status in 2 years by using our registry. Pretty easy tool that's updated on an annual basis, so hopefully it's pretty accurate. And I'll be comparing IBCLC status of those who attended and those who had an interest in attending. My logic model, I know it's kind of hard to read on here. I tried to improve my picture of that, but I think it's pretty simple. The thing that I have the biggest question about here is my cultural competency piece. I really feel that might need to be let go. I need some opinions on that. So if I need to just take that out, it was only going to be a 1 hour part of the course. It's not really going to be missed because she does talk about culture, like different cultures, not necessarily Appalachian specific, but I think it might just be too much for this. So completed activities, I have contacted 237 care provider physicians, either by mail or through in-office visits, providing them with intervention course invitations, suboptimal breastfeeding fact sheet, and a list of area IBCLCs and pretests. I applied for and received a grant from the Ohio Lactation Consultant Association to help offset some of the costs, so that paid for copies, and it also paid for some stamps. Not all the stamps, but some stamps. I secured a speaker and location of the lactation course at Ohio University, and sent out lactation course flyer and registration information to area colic departments, WIC offices, and hospitals. Actually, this State Department sent out, they call them APLs, but basically to all their staff, encouraging them to go. I updated logistic information for course registrants, such as parking, lodging, and dining. Current activities is really just promotion, hitting it hard, trying to get as many people registered as possible to make it worth my speaker's time, and to also have a good number for my outcomes. So continue to promote registration of both physicians and lay professional lactation professionals. Promotion includes attending and speaking at local coalition and community meetings such as birth circles, breastfeeding professional organizations and coalitions, and community wellness collectives. Sharing course flyer registration and information on social media sites like Facebook and Instagram, and making follow-up phone calls and emails to interested contacts such as area hospitals and nursing programs. Plans for the rest of the semester, I have to mail or hand deliver post-test to all physicians who did return a pretest by April 30th, and with a due date of May 10th. So that's probably going to be a little challenging for some of them with that turnaround time, but I really want to finish this piece before the end of the course. Attend and facilitate the intervention course April 30th through May 5th. Grade and calculate post-test scores, average each group, and compare averages using a t-test, and finish writing results in the paper. So my questions, I've already said pretty much throughout the whole thing, but I was going to do a 1 hour education on reducing Appalachian-specific breastfeeding barriers. Do you think adding to this piece to the study design would complicate it too much? I would like more feedback on my study design model. Specifically, where should I put the primary care provider physicians who were unable to be reached, like ones that I mailed invitations to and they came back returned to sender? I've had, fortunately, quite a bit of those. And since this intervention has two parts, should I rename my study or continue with the name I currently have on the title page and use a different name for my second study design in 2 years? So I would really appreciate any feedback on these questions. I really hope this next week to hammering out quite a bit of my paper. So I'd like to clean some of these things up before I do that. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Have a great day.